Hello, and welcome to Level Up Stronger. The world is continuously changing at a very rapid pace. How can we all gain the competitive edge in our industries and thrive in them? What if you knew without the shadow of a doubt that self-education and access to forward-thinking experts in your field could catapult you towards success faster than ever before? The spaces we inhabit can inspire us, protect us, define us, and connect us, so we all play a valuable role in shaping their future. We plan to take a deep dive into various industries and careers. What are the future of the industries? What are the barriers to entry? And learn from the very people who thrive in them. We will take you behind the scenes to the people, products, and processes that keep industries thriving. In this podcast, we look forward to inspire and empower everyone to take thoughtful, educated risks and apply what we've learned in our lives so we can all level up stronger. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with a panel of women who work as part of a hazmat abatement crew, working full-time on a large multi-year asbestos abatement project. Jessica, Sunshine, and Yulitza all come from varying backgrounds and experience. Today, we'll talk to them about how they came to be a part of this industry, their experiences and challenges they face in a primarily male-dominated construction-adjacent trade, how they balance their work activities with family commitments and other responsibilities, as well as some words of advice for anyone considering entering this field of expertise. Thank you for joining us today for the Level Up Stronger podcast. I'd like to start off by asking each of you a little bit about yourself, including how, when, and why you entered into the asbestos abatement field. Jessica, let's start with you.
I've been in asbestos, I think, like 14 years ago. I get for IEIs in the company, I think 2 years and a half. And I am a supervisor, and I have my supervisor license, I think, for 6 years.
That's exciting. Where are you originally from? Because I hear an accent.
I'm from El Salvador.
El Salvador. Awesome. Mm-hmm. So what brought you to the U.S.?
To get a different opportunity, sure. Because in different countries you have you don't have no more opportunity to growing up. And I think asbestos, everybody think is the only way we can make money.
Are you married? Have family?
Yeah, I'm married.
Any kids?
No
kids. Okay,
no.
Awesome. And you're living in Pennsylvania?
No, I live in Maryland, Laurel.
Would you like to go next, Yulitza?
Well, my name is Yulitza, and I've been in asbestos since 2018 when I joined Southern Insulation through a friend. Well, I used to be in the Army and the National Guard. I had a friend who we worked closely together there, and then she had left, and then she joined, told me about the opportunity. So I decided to take the plunge. So, I mean, it was kind of difficult in the beginning.
So you were in the reserves. Were you stationed anywhere specific or just there in Maryland?
It was the National Guard. And yes, I was stationed I was a part of 2 different units, but they were in like Central PA. I was logistic. I was 92 Yankee. Yeah, like dealing with the troops. That's where I met the person that got me this opportunity.
Well, we like to take things that you all are doing in the military and transition them, which is why we do a lot of hiring of military veterans, because a lot of the things that you do in the military transition really well into some of the things that we do.
So Yulitza, when you made that transition, for other people who may be thinking about making that transition from a different career, what was involved in that? Just so people can have an idea of how long did it take you and what did you do to prepare for that?
I did go from a pretty sedimentary job. So I was sitting at a computer. So you do have to decide, are you a hands-on type of person? Are you okay working in environments that might be a little more challenging? So when you're working asbestos, you might be in a confined area, or you might be in a containment, and you have to get used to working with a suit and a respirator. So yeah, those kind of things, I guess in the beginning, you have to get accustomed to. But once you do, they kind of just become kind of like a part of you. As far as actually making the transition, I did have to travel quite a little bit before I decided, this is what I'm going to do for a couple of years, because it's not something that I decided I'm going to do forever. So this is just kind of like a stepping stone. And it was a considerable amount of pay difference. But you do have to realize that you are working with hazardous material. So, there's risk involved in everything you do.
And Sunny, would you like to share a little bit about yourself with us?
I'm also prior service. I came to IEI in 2019. I also had a friend bring me on, tell me about the job. I live in Maryland.
Sunny, what did you do in the military?
I was a 92 Alpha, logistics.
And can you tell us, Sunny, a little bit about that transition? It sounds like you made a pretty sudden transition as well.
Oh, well, I've always been in logistics. That's like majority of my background. The transition for me wasn't really that bad because of the military. I'm used to, moving around. And as well, the pay was just a little bit more than what I was getting paid in my previous job.
What other kind of careers have you held other than military? And Jessica, when you came into the States, what kind of careers have you held along the way? I mean, for instance, I've done everything from, I've been a preschool teacher to a receptionist to the director of operations to doing marketing. I mean, I've along the way have progressed. What other kind of things got you here?
For about 5 years, I was also doing medical assisting and I was a caregiver.
Yeah, I really didn't pretty much deviate from logistics really because I was in the military for about 8 years. And then I decided to switch gears.
Okay, sounds like fun. And Jessica, any along the way? You've probably had some different jobs along the way. What got you here?
I work for my father. My father have a business, a grocery.
Oh, awesome.
And then I was working a cashier. And then
the next question, for those who are not familiar with asbestos abatement work, could one of you explain what it is and some of the precautions that you must take when working with asbestos, and maybe give them an idea of what a typical workday would be like, preparing for the day, the breaks that you get, monitoring, decon, just kind of an overview to give people an idea what that would look like?
There is, I guess, different stages of working in asbestos because in the beginning, you have to look at what it is that you gotta do and what you gotta work on. So if the first thing you do when you get to an area is, you kind of evaluate it, you look around, you take into consideration a lot of things like, how long it's gonna take, stuff like that. But then the next stage would be like prep. So that's bringing all the equipment that you need, including from scrapers to maybe grinders to vacuums, HEPA vacuums, suits, material, duct tape. You need a lot of duct tape, double face, poly. So it's actually building the containment. The next part, covering anything and everything that can get dust on it, covering the walls, sealing up criticals, any holes that would lead out, because you need a closed area with negative air pressure. So you need everything sealed. And then you work on setting up your negative air machines, which will give you the negative air pressure. And then you must always have 3-stage decon, your workroom, equipment room, your shower, and then your clean room. Then, you set up the manometer to actually see what kind of pressure you get.
What safety procedures do you follow?
I mean, the first thing before getting into any asbestos related career, you do have to take classes, training. So you do have to learn about what kind of PPE that you need, what kind of procedures do you use on the inside, as far as how to, demo certain things, keeping things wet, like your wet methods, how to dispose of things correctly, how to label things.
You guys have all been through training and you're licensed as well. So you had to take the class and get licensed with the state, correct?
Yes, correct. They do require you show your certificate. You have to wear PPE, which requires you to wear either a full face. It depends on your preference, a full face or half face. Well, depending on what we're doing right now is mostly just class 4, so it's nothing that requires you to wear a PAPR or
what is class 4?
Just cleaning.
So usually asbestos is either friable or non-friable, right? And so you have things that are easily airborne versus not easily airborne. And so right now you guys are just doing the after cleanup because the bulk of the asbestos related materials have been removed?
So no, pretty much the main 2 things that we take care of in the rooms that we're in, that is the mastic that's under the floor tile and the ceiling tile.
And asbestos was put in a lot of things, just for anybody who may be listening later who doesn't understand, what is asbestos? It's a mineral, basically, that was put into a lot of things to help as a fire retardant, right?
Yeah, like a fireproofing.
And then we realized after the fact that it causes lung cancer.
Right.
So now anything that has asbestos in it, and of course they put asbestos in everything for a long time up until the late 70s, along with lead-based paint. And a lot of our government buildings have a lot of asbestos in them still to this day. So they're kind of strategically going through, especially when they do a remodel, right, and take all of that out.
Right.
Thank you, Yulitza. What are the biggest challenges that you face when working in a field that is predominantly made up of a male workforce, and how have you overcome them, if any?
Sure. I haven't really experienced a lot of challenges, but what I do notice in our work area, in my opinion, I feel like some of the males feel like we're not as strong as them. So a lot of lifting that we do, like when we're moving furniture, they think like we're incapable of doing it, or maybe they're just trying to be gentlemen. I don't know, but that's what I've experienced.
And then that's entirely possible, right? That they could. Sometimes we can use that to our advantage, though, too, right? So that they can do the heavy lifting.
And so when that happens, Sunny, do you just keep proceeding and I can do it? Or are there awkward moments of, who's going to do that? Or how does that typically play out? Or how do you deal with that?
Both. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'll move to the side and assist in a different area or side or whatever we're moving. And sometimes I'll just be like, no, I got it. I could do it. But thank you. So if I feel like if it's too heavy, if you need another person to help you, or if I feel like I wouldn't be able to lift it by myself, then of course I would ask for help. It doesn't matter male or female.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, we focus a lot on safety, so taking precautions. So if you need help, you don't want to twist something or hurt or not use your lifting technique.
Right.
Do you feel like that improves over time once you've worked with a crew for a longer period of time, that they start to realize that you're just as capable? And
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think at least where we're working, our supervisor typically puts us all with the group that we usually work with. I mean, when we're all together, we still help each other. We all work as a team. But when you have your certain crew, you already know you've already worked together for so long.
Okay.
It works.
And so since you've been at that facility for a while and worked together, it's a little bit different situation now, but like at the beginning when you first come to a new facility, or maybe there's another crew that's doing some other kind of construction work, what tend to be those first interactions or impressions? Is there surprise? How is that in the initial contact?
I think there is, I guess, in the beginning, just like any place, it's a little challenging. I remember when I first joined, it was a very large area and there was a lot of working components and you're just kind of just thrown in there, trying to figure things out. But what I remember is there's a lot of good people that work in the street, just like anywhere, and they'll just take you kind of like under their wing. The supervisor, well, he was a supervisor, but not the supervisor of the area, and he kind of just showed me around.
Hey, Jessica, you mentioned that you're a supervisor, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed any difference? I mean, I've been a female leader in a male-dominated industry for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed any issues or differences in your team? Do you lead both men and women, like a diverse group?
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed any challenges with being a woman in a male-dominated industry as a leader?
No.
You had a good group of people then?
Yeah, but it's going to be it's good, try to tell a guy and to give opportunity to a woman, maybe one day or 1 week run a container, she can be the leader, and it's going to be a good idea,
No, absolutely. If it's not giving equal opportunity to both women and men,
it's good idea to have another woman, opportunity,
absolutely.
To see what's going on,
Absolutely. No, it's definitely a good idea. And I think here's the thing with, and talk a lot about this at the project management level, is we need to be giving opportunities, and the company was founded on giving everybody opportunities to work their way up. So if we don't give you those opportunities to lead, then we're doing a disservice to your ability to rise, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're very people-centric here, and those opportunities need to be provided to all of you.
Yep.
Because you could have a stellar leader in your team and not even know it, right?
So related to that, if there's anything that you could share with males working in the abatement field or even a related construction field where there might be similar issues, anything that would help improve the work environment for females, what would that be?
What about your friends? Let's pretend you got your bestie, right? She needs a job. Would you recommend this industry to her, or how would you present it to somebody, another woman or a young person even?
I say yes. I can recommend to a friend or any close friend to enjoy into the company or the abatement. But I had to explain her everything. How is asbestos? What is asbestos? Because sometimes people just because they take the class, they think it's an easy job. It's not easy. Use a respirator the whole day. Use a suit with a 90-degree inside, sweating, everything. It's not easy,
It's absolutely not easy. And then it's hot. It's hot inside those suits.
Yep. And sometimes you have to work outside, in different company with a 95-degree, 100-degree outside with a suit and a mask. It's not just only money,
Correct. Yeah. You have to actually like what you're doing because otherwise it's terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible sometimes, especially if you're doing something really gross and dirty. And I've been on plenty of mold and asbestos abatement jobs along the way in our history. It is no fun. Putting on the Tyvek suit is no fun.
Yep.
And they're not attractive at all.
And so another aspect that, like I mentioned, that we are kind of looking at various different barriers to either entry or being able to perform your job effectively or feeling good in the position that you're in. And I know other locations where IEI works and perhaps at your location, there are issues with, people who are not native speakers of English. And I was just wondering if you encounter any of those challenges at your location and how you might support each other or overcome any language barriers at the site, and how, is there a translator or do you support each other if in fact there are any language or communication issues?
I think now at the site, if you look at the crew that we have, ages from, low 20s to 60s, you know what I mean? So at some point, everybody just kind of helps each other. We did have a couple of people that were mostly just, native Spanish speakers. We actually have supervisors that people, like Jessica. And so we do kind of try to communicate with each other. And if something arises, we help each other.
We have a lot of teams that are like that, who are Spanish speaking. Julie actually speaks several languages and usually comes and translates for us at various different sites. And we've been, I think, blessed to have such a very diverse group of all nationalities. It's kind of like the UN here at our office most days. So it's good that you guys help each other out, and that's what we like to see. Have you noticed that any times that the language barrier caused any issues with being able to communicate with like your managers or?
No, for the most part, I don't think so, because we also have, apart from Julio, we also have Caesar. So and Caesar is, both, he's a Spanish speaker. So I think for the most part, we haven't really had any language barriers per se, because if the general contractor, there's always someone there that can.
Excellent. And with this last year being a difficult year in so many ways, can you comment at all about how COVID may have affected your work environment, schedules, any additional challenges that it may have presented?
For the most part, I really didn't really experience much of a change last year, besides, lockdowns and maybe 2 quarantines, because I did get COVID towards the end of the year, but I live alone, and I'm single, but, not married, no children. So it really didn't affect me all too greatly.
What about you, Sunny? Did COVID affect you and your family? I didn't ask if you have kids.
My grandmother passed away from COVID and she was in a nursing home.
That's got to be tough, I'm sure you weren't probably able to see her.
Nope.
Prior to that. I can't imagine. We had a few people who, notified us that they had deaths in the family and things like that. And I just can't imagine having to go through that and then not have the ability to see the person before they died. Great. So heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, same here, Sunny.
So you guys kept working then during COVID? Your project continued. I think ours did, because we do facilities management, so the federal building still had to stay standing throughout COVID, even though no one is there. So you guys continue to do abatement. Your project continued, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one of the huge selling points. Like when I'm recruiting people this last year, so many people were without work. We all, for the most part, with the exception of a few job sites, everybody went to work because we're considered essential workers. So that's a huge benefit to doing government contracting and being on a government contracting team, that there's some definite job security there. I would imagine though with you all, your projects come to an end, right? So eventually the asbestos is cleaned up. So do you find that you have gaps between jobs, or have you been able to find work consistently?
For me, for the most part, it's been pretty consistent until, you might have maybe a month or 2 months where, you're laid off because the job is taking a pause. There's a pause there, you can't continue. They haven't allowed us to get into the next rooms or whatever the case is. So yeah, at those points, you do have apply for unemployment at that point, but usually it does pick up within less than 2 months. But with the case of like a project, like a contract ending, I was with Southern and the contract ended, and then I got the contract a couple of months later. So I did go from one company to the next, seeking that opportunity.
Yeah, we see that a lot with staff who work in the government industries, is that, a contract will come to an end, but it's usually pretty easy to get picked up by the next contractor who comes through.
Yeah, because even in between, there was like a 6 month, before the next contract started, I joined a different company, and that was not asbestos. That was working with welders and plumbers. So, they needed an escort. I have a security clearance. So
yeah, that security clearance is really like gold if you're in the government. If you've already got it, you guys have levels of security clearance from a government contracting standpoint, is really helpful to be able to utilize that to do escorting or other things, because most of the jobs are going to require it. That's a lot of why we hire a lot of people right out of the military, is because they already have a clearance. So that's usually helpful.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm not used to these like long periods of layoff. So I'm kind of like stressed out right now.
Sure. Yeah, I could see how that would be stressful if there's these periods in between. That's we'd have to find things to fill in. And I guess that's the downfall to some of the stuff. I think we were able to plug a few people into some other work here and there as time allowed. But it's definitely something that we have to work on as a company to make sure we've got plenty of work to plug you guys into along the way.
Yeah, I know this contract that we're working on now, it's heading towards the end. So at that point, things unless we're told exactly what's going on, we're kind of just we're left in the dark until it's too late. Because sometimes we don't find out about the layoffs until a week of, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's different for me because maybe I don't have kids or something, so I don't have to worry about them. But everybody else, have families, and, they have to, they need income. So it's kind of difficult at some point.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a downfall in this particular industry, because eventually all the asbestos in the area that you're working in or the contract you're on would be cleaned up, and that project would come to an end. So we hope that we have something to follow on beyond that. Yeah.
The facility we're working in, it's pretty large. So there is plenty of work. It's just a matter of the bidding and then the contracts. And, it just takes a lot of time.
Yeah, sometimes years to get the proposals and things are in the works for months and sometimes even years. And it's just getting to award. And so that's really tough, because we would rather we keep you all working, because having to lay you off or whatever the in-between times is definitely difficult as a company. To have to deal with too, because then you may move on to something else, and that team that we've built and put time and energy into may not be there. So that's definitely a downfall to this whole thing.
And I guess speaking to some of those challenges, are there other things that not just your employer, but do you feel like employers in general could do to help provide more support for either those circumstances or other circumstances of diversity in the workforce and unique conditions? We're just interested to know also what employers can do to make your lives better, if anything.
Like, for instance, as I'm sitting here, and Julie, that's a really great question. Is there training that we could provide you to potentially be able to transition you into other stuff? Is there a training program that we could create as an employer, other employers who do similar work? So that way, during those downtimes, we're paying you to go get additional training that could circle back around and help us on other contracts or grow you into another position. I think this is, I don't want to ever look at the workforce as just a workforce that we could just throw away. The whole premise of IEI and what we were built on as a company in the beginning was providing opportunities to grow people into things that they wanted to go into, right? And so would you all be interested in potentially doing some additional training to go into other positions? We're always recruiting for other things. I've got probably 10 or 15 different openings across the country right now. So, is that something you guys would be interested in?
I think it's going to be a good idea but we want to know, in case that contract, I know that contract going to get done soon, right? But we want to know if the company going to get the other contract or more work over there. If now we can, see if we can take that training, and if not, we can move it on, because we have to work, we have to pay mortgage and everything, and we have to move it on.
Absolutely.
It's no work. We don't gonna get mad, because it's no work.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Asbestos is not just going to have a work permanent. You guys know that, we can work 1 year, 2 years, and that project is done, and you have to look at it for another company and move it on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If there was more training that would allow you to get into, other positions, like you mentioned, like moving up, I think definitely. I would have thought if it was available, it'd be something that, should be mentioned like pretty regularly, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're looking at fill positions and stuff, I mean, the first thing that I would do if I was, one of the leaders, I would definitely look within, because sometimes, like you said, you might have somebody that could fill it just fine.
Well, and I'm all for growing people from the field into project managers. I worked in the field once upon a time, a million years ago, and I'm the vice president today. So go figure. It does happen, and I guess my one advice for most people who do want to work their way up is you got to put in the time and effort to get there. It doesn't happen on its own. It doesn't magically. I didn't just magically one day arrive as vice president. Like, I put in a lot of hard work and effort. I won't even begin. Like, you guys have done asbestos, and that's a lot of gross. We did property foreclosure cleanouts, and that was, from those days, it was terrible, absolutely terrible work. But sometimes you just take the opportunities that are afforded to you to gain the experience necessary, because if we hadn't done that, we wouldn't have gotten the HUD contract, and the HUD contract led to facilities contracts. The next thing you know, we've got 200 employees. And I feel like that was probably 12, 13 years worth of time span, but there was a lot of time and effort put into that, and opportunities came along the way, and we'll do a better job of communicating those opportunities. I will make a commitment to that for sure, because I think that's important, to give everybody those opportunities. I'm really looking and pushing for some sort of training program to be started, an internship program of some sort, to help bring people out of the field into those management positions, because I think it helps if you understand what your employees are going through when you become a manager.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree, because I mean, sometimes you get a manager or someone from the GC, and they ask you questions, but they really don't know what it is that you're going to be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've never been inside a Tyvek suit, right? There's a lot of those guys never been inside a Tyvek suit and have no idea what it's like. They're trying to tell you how to do your job, and
comes out of the containment 5 minutes later and it's sweating crazy, and we're in there all day. So yeah, I agree. I agree with your statement there.
I guess related to that also, besides those opportunities, I mean, with IEI being a woman-owned small business and trying to promote a diverse workforce, and just, you don't have to tell me right here in this forum, but if there are ever staff in general maybe needs to be more aware of or trained in certain things to make your life better, or if there's any missing links like that could help improve working, conditions or work relationships. It does sound like you have a fairly cohesive team, but that's not always the case. And, as people move around and change positions or are assigned with different teams, in general, if there are things that could be done by the company to make your working environment better, then I'm sure that feedback would be appreciated.
Communication.
Communication is always number one. I struggle with that with them myself sometimes.
I don't think they understand how much we appreciate just transparency. I'd rather be told, hey, you're going to be off for a month or two, and prepare myself for it, and then you actually, look for other employment to fill those 2 months. I speak for everyone. I think when I say you have more respect for a supervisor that actually communicates and tells you exactly what's going on than someone that tries to, conceal it for some odd reason.
No, absolutely.
Just tell us. We've been in asbestos for a little bit. We understand, what the work is like, what happens.
And do you feel like the day-to-day communication or expectations of work production or things like that, are those fairly clear, or is there room for improvement there too?
Personally, I think the communication in terms of, work area and what we're doing in those areas, I think for the most part, those are pretty clear because, we've been doing it for a while. So as soon as you go into an area, and you know what you're concentrating on, you know where to go. Everyone takes initiative.
I really want to thank you ladies for taking the time to speak with us today and share your experiences, and hope that we can use this to encourage other people and let them know. We're really proud of you for the work that you do and the dedication that you put towards it. And probably a lot of people can't even realize what you go through on a day-to-day basis. So I guess I'd like to maybe just close it out with one last question. If there's any words of encouragement or advice or anything you might share with somebody interested in going into this field, and anything to females in particular.
Before I joined, asbestos, before I moved on to asbestos, I really didn't know anything about it. So just knowing that there's a world of possibilities out there, you know what I mean? So all you got to do is kind of network, because it's pretty much what got me here, got me there, and what got Sunny there. You know what I mean? And probably Jessica too. So it's all about possibilities, and also just focusing on networking and talking to people, taking an interest.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today. And if you're considering a career in hazmat abatement, already in the field looking for ways to level up stronger, have a question about or interested in additional information about any of the topics discussed on today's episode, send us an email at levelupstronger@gmail.com or visit levelupstronger.com.
Thank you for joining us on Level Up Stronger. For references to resources mentioned in this episode and to receive updates on future podcasts, check us out on social media or at levelupstronger.com. And remember, each time we take risk, educate ourselves, and apply what we've learned to our lives, we level up stronger. Each time we level up stronger, we have the opportunity to reach back and contribute to someone else's success too.